You are being guided right now, even if part of you still doubts it. There is a quiet moment that many people recognize but rarely name. It usually appears late at night or in the silence between obligations, when you suddenly feel that something inside you is shifting. You may not know what is changing yet. You only sense that the life you have been living no longer fits the person you are becoming. This feeling is not random. It is often the first whisper of alignment, the subtle beginning of a deeper connection between your inner world and the intelligence that moves through everything. If you have been feeling tired of repeating the same emotional cycles, frustrated with stalled manifestations, or disconnected from your sense of purpose, I want you to hear this clearly. These experiences are not signs of failure. They are signs of transition. Before any real transformation takes form in the external world, there is always a period of inner rearrangement. Old beliefs soften, familiar structures dissolve, the nervous system learns a new rhythm. What feels like confusion is often preparation. Many people imagine spiritual guidance as something dramatic, loud, or mystical. In reality, guidance usually arrives quietly. It comes through sudden clarity, through doors that close without explanation, through unexpected pauses that force you to slow down. Protection does not always look like comfort. Sometimes it looks like delay, sometimes it looks like endings, but underneath it all there is a deeper order at work, gently redirecting you toward a version of yourself that is more honest, more present, and more aligned with your true path. In this journey together, we will explore how to recognize these signs, how to understand spiritual protection, and how to strengthen your connection with the universe during this powerful threshold. Because very often, just before the best phase of your life begins, everything inside you is being recalibrated, and that is exactly where you are now. There is a moment that often arrives quietly, without ceremony. It feels like standing at the edge of something you cannot yet see, only sense. You may notice patterns repeating in your life, certain conversations echoing across different days, or familiar emotions surfacing in new situations. At first it seems coincidental, but over time, a deeper awareness begins to form. These are not random occurrences. They are part of a subtle language, one that speaks through repetition, timing, and inner sensation. Many people misunderstand what guidance truly feels like. They expect certainty, clarity, and instant peace. Instead, guidance often arrives as discomfort. It comes as restlessness in routines that once felt safe. It shows up as a growing inability to tolerate what no longer aligns with your inner truth. You may find yourself questioning choices you once made automatically. You may feel drawn towards silence, reflection, or solitude. This is not weakness. This is your nervous system and your intuition beginning to cooperate. When the inner world starts to reorganize, the outer world usually mirrors this shift. Relationships may feel strained or suddenly distant. Opportunities may dissolve before they fully form. Plans may fall apart at the last moment. To the logical mind, this looks like instability. To the deeper intelligence within you, this is refinement. It is the gradual clearing of pathways that no longer serve your expansion. There is also a physical dimension to this process. Some people notice changes in sleep patterns, appetite, or energy levels. Others feel waves of emotion that seem to come from nowhere. These experiences are often the body releasing stored tension and outdated survival responses. For a long time, you may have been operating from habit, from expectation, or from fear of loss. Now something inside you is asking for coherence. It is inviting your thoughts, emotions, and actions to come back into alignment. Guidance rarely shouts. It whispers. It speaks through the way your body tightens around certain choices and softens around others. It appears in moments of unexpected calm after difficult decisions. It lives in that quiet knowing that emerges when you stop forcing outcomes and begin listening inwardly. This is how connection with the universe becomes personal and tangible, not through dramatic signs in the sky, but through subtle shifts in perception. There is an important truth many people overlook. Before life expands, it contracts. Before clarity arrives, confusion often takes its place. This is not punishment, it is preparation. Just as muscles strengthen through resistance, consciousness grows through moments of uncertainty. The discomfort you feel is not evidence that you are off track. It is often proof that you are moving beyond familiar limitations. At this stage, the ego may try to regain control. It searches for explanations, reassurance, or external validation. It wants timelines and guarantees. But guidance does not operate on urgency. It operates on readiness. It responds to emotional honesty, not desperation. The more you attempt to force meaning onto every experience, the harder it becomes to recognize the genuine signals already present. You might notice that certain doors close repeatedly. Even when you try to reopen them, you might feel redirected away from people or environments that once felt essential. These moments can carry grief, confusion, or resistance, yet they also carry protection. Not everything that leaves your life is a loss. Some departures are acts of mercy. Some endings are silent blessings. Being guided does not mean everything becomes easy. It means you become more aware. You start recognizing when something is not meant to continue. You begin honoring your internal responses instead of overriding them. You develop sensitivity to what drains you and what restores you. Slowly, your inner compass recalibrates. And as this recalibration unfolds, something remarkable happens. You stop chasing signs and start embodying alignment. You realize that guidance is not something happening to you. It is something awakening within you. There is a particular kind of disappointment that feels heavier than others. It arrives when something you hoped for does not happen, when a door closes just as you were gathering the courage to walk through it, or when life seems to pause right as you were ready to move forward. In those moments, the mind searches for meaning. It asks why, it replays decisions, it wonders what was done wrong. Yet beneath this surface frustration, there is often a deeper process unfolding. Protection does not always arrive wrapped in comfort. Sometimes it arrives disguised as interruption. A relationship fades before it can fully deepen. A plan dissolves after weeks of anticipation. A path you were certain about suddenly loses momentum. These experiences can feel personal, even cruel, but there is an intelligence within them that rarely reveals itself immediately. Many people associate spiritual protection with smooth progress and visible rewards. In reality, protection often expresses itself through redirection. It moves you away from situations that would have required you to abandon parts of yourself. It creates distance from environments that quietly drain your energy. It interrupts patterns that would have kept you repeating the same emotional lessons in different forms. There is a subtle moment when you realize that what did not happen may have spared you from something you were not ready to face. Perhaps you were being guided away from a version of success that would have cost you your peace. Perhaps you were being shielded from a connection that mirrored old wounds. Perhaps the delay exists because the internal foundation was still forming. The body often senses this before the mind understands it. You may notice a strange mix of relief and sadness at the same time. Part of you mourns what could have been, while another part feels unexpectedly lighter. This internal contradiction is not confusion. It is awareness expanding. It is your system recognizing that not every loss is a setback. Protection also appears in moments of exhaustion. When your energy drops and your motivation fades, it can feel like you are losing momentum. But sometimes fatigue is the soul asking for integration. Growth requires rest. Expansion requires pauses. Without these spaces, transformation becomes overwhelming, and the nervous system cannot adapt to change. There is also protection in endings that arrive without explanation. You may never fully understand why certain chapters closed the way they did. You may not receive apologies, closure, or clear answers. Still, something inside you gradually accepts that staying would have required you to compromise your inner truth. Protection does not negotiate with comfort. It aligns with coherence. At this stage of your journey, you may feel suspended between who you were and who you are becoming. The old structures no longer hold you, but the new ones have not yet taken form. This in-between space can feel empty, uncertain, and lonely, yet it is one of the most sacred phases of transformation. It is where outdated identities dissolve. It is where unconscious patterns loosen their grip. It is where deeper clarity begins to surface. What looks like delay is often recalibration. What feels like rejection is often realignment. What appears as stagnation is frequently silent preparation. Life has a way of rearranging circumstances so that your next step emerges from authenticity rather than urgency. There is wisdom in noticing how often the universe slows you down just before something significant unfolds. It removes distractions. It simplifies your environment. It invites introspection. These pauses are not accidents. They are thresholds. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, you begin to understand. Protection is not about avoiding pain. It is about preserving your essence. It is about guiding you toward experiences that resonate with your evolving consciousness. It is about allowing you to arrive at the next chapter of your life with greater clarity, deeper presence, and a more honest relationship with yourself. In this quiet space of delay, something essential is taking shape, and even if you cannot see it yet, your path is being gently restructured from within. There comes a point in every inner journey when words like connection and alignment begin to feel less abstract and more lived. It happens slowly, through small realizations rather than dramatic awakenings. You start noticing how your internal state shapes your external experiences. You observe how certain thoughts tighten your chest, while others soften your breath. You become aware that your emotional landscape is constantly communicating with the world around you. Quantum connection, in its most human expression, is not about mystical experiences or sudden enlightenment. It is about coherence. It is about the way your body, mind, and emotions learn to move in the same direction. When this happens, life feels less fragmented. Decisions become quieter. Reactions lose intensity. You stop oscillating between hope and despair and begin to inhabit a more stable inner presence. For a long time, many people live disconnected from their own sensations. They operate on autopilot, guided by habits, expectations, and unresolved emotional memory. In that state, manifestation feels forced, desires feel distant, the universe seems silent. But when awareness deepens, something subtle changes. You begin to feel your own energy again. You recognize when you are acting from fear and when you are responding from clarity. This is where connection becomes practical. There is a delicate relationship between intention and emotion. An intention formed from anxiety carries a different quality than one formed from grounded presence. Even when the words are the same, the internal signal is different. The universe does not respond to what you say you want. It responds to what you consistently embody. This is why alignment is not created through effort alone. It emerges through emotional honesty. You may notice that moments of genuine connection often arrive during silence. In the early morning, when the world has not yet demanded your attention. In quiet walks when your thoughts slow down. In brief pauses between tasks, when you suddenly feel yourself breathing again. These are not empty moments. They are doorways. They allow the nervous system to exit survival mode and re-enter coherence. As this coherence strengthens, your perception changes. You become more sensitive to subtle cues. You feel when a decision carries weight and when it carries peace. You sense when something resonates, even if it does not make logical sense yet. This sensitivity is not fragility. It is intelligence. It is the body and intuition working together. Connection also brings responsibility. You become aware of how quickly old patterns try to resurface. The impulse to control outcomes, the tendency to seek validation, the habit of abandoning your inner truth to maintain external comfort. These impulses do not disappear overnight, but now you see them. And seeing is the beginning of transformation. There is something profoundly humbling about realizing that alignment is not achieved through intensity, but through consistency. It is sustained by small, repeated moments of presence, by choosing gentleness over resistance, by allowing emotions to move without suppressing them, by honoring rest when fatigue appears, by recognizing when you are out of balance and quietly returning to center. Quantum connection is not a destination. It is a living relationship. Some days you feel deeply attuned, other days you feel distant. This fluctuation is natural. What matters is the ongoing willingness to return inward, to notice, to feel, to soften, and gradually your reality begins to reflect this inner coherence. You experience fewer dramatic swings. You attract experiences that mirror your emotional maturity. You find yourself stepping away from chaos without needing to explain why. You feel guided not by external signs, but by an internal steadiness that grows stronger over time. This is how connection with the universe truly unfolds, not through force, not through fantasy, but through a quiet, embodied alignment that transforms the way you move through your own life. There is a particular stillness that appears right before a new chapter begins. It does not feel celebratory. It feels empty, quiet, and strangely fragile. Many people mistake this space for failure or loss of direction, yet this pause carries a unique signature. It is the moment when the old version of you has already loosened its grip, but the new version has not fully arrived. You are standing in between identities. This threshold often brings unexpected shifts. You may feel less interested in conversations that once energized you. Your tolerance for superficial interactions may decrease. Certain environments start to feel heavy, while simple moments of solitude become nourishing. These changes can feel confusing, especially when nothing dramatic has happened on the surface. But internally, something profound is reorganizing. Before life expands outward, it contracts inward. This contraction is not punishment. It is refinement. It strips away what no longer fits your evolving consciousness. It exposes emotional habits that were previously hidden beneath busyness. It invites you to witness your own patterns with greater honesty. Old coping mechanisms lose their effectiveness. Distractions feel hollow. What once brought comfort may now feel empty. During this phase, memories often resurface. Past choices replay themselves quietly in the background. You may feel waves of grief for who you used to be, or for opportunities that never fully unfolded. There can be moments of nostalgia mixed with relief. This emotional layering is part of integration. The psyche is releasing outdated attachments while making space for new meaning. You might also notice a growing sensitivity to energy. Loud environments feel overwhelming. Rushed decisions feel unnatural. Your body begins to ask for slower rhythms. Sleep patterns may shift. Appetite may change. These are not random symptoms. They are signs that your system is recalibrating. The nervous system is learning how to hold a different frequency of experience. Many people try to escape this in-between space. They rush into new projects, relationships, or identities to avoid the discomfort of uncertainty. But this threshold is sacred. It is where unconscious patterns dissolve. It is where emotional maturity deepens. It is where you begin to understand that your worth is not dependent on constant motion. There is also a quiet courage required here. The courage to sit with unanswered questions. The courage to allow things to unfold without forcing timelines. The courage to remain present when clarity feels distant. This is where trust is refined. Not blind faith, but embodied trust. The kind that grows from listening to your own inner signals. As this process unfolds, subtle insights begin to surface. You start recognizing how often you abandoned yourself in the past to maintain harmony. You notice how fear shaped certain decisions. You become aware of the moments when you chose familiarity over truth. These realizations are not meant to shame you. They are invitations to evolve. This stage also carries a strange paradox. Even while things feel uncertain, there is often an underlying sense of peace, a quiet knowing that something meaningful is forming beneath the surface. You may not be able to articulate it, but you feel it in your chest, in your breath, in the way you move through your days. The universe tends to simplify life during these transitions. Certain connections fade, priorities rearrange themselves. Your schedule becomes lighter, even if unintentionally. This simplification creates space, and in that space, your deeper self begins to speak more clearly. What you are experiencing is not stagnation, it is reorientation. You are shedding layers that were built around survival, expectation, and past identity. You are learning to inhabit your own presence more fully. You are becoming more selective with your energy, more honest with your emotions, more attuned to your internal compass. And slowly, without force, the next phase starts to reveal itself, not as a sudden breakthrough, but as a series of quiet confirmations. A sense of direction returns. New opportunities appear naturally. Your confidence grows from the inside out. This threshold is not something to rush through. It is a passage, and as you move through it, you are being prepared for a version of your life that requires a deeper level of awareness, authenticity, and inner stability. You are not falling apart. You are being rearranged. As this journey comes full circle, one truth remains quietly present beneath everything you have felt and recognized. You were never lost. You were unfolding. Every pause, every delay, every emotional wave carried information. Each moment of confusion was part of a deeper reorganization, guiding you away from who you had to be and back toward who you truly are. Being guided does not mean life becomes predictable. It means you become more aware of your inner signals. Protection does not remove challenges. It reshapes them into teachers. Connection with the universe does not arrive as constant bliss. It arrives as coherence, as clarity, as the ability to sit with uncertainty without abandoning yourself. You have moved through subtle thresholds. You have felt contractions before expansions. You have released identities that once kept you safe, and in doing so, you have created space for something more authentic to emerge. The quiet strength you are developing now will support the next chapter of your life in ways you cannot yet fully see. This is how transformation truly happens. Not through dramatic breakthroughs, but through honest presence, through emotional integration, through learning to trust the intelligence moving through your body, your breath and your awareness. You are not waiting for your life to begin. It is already unfolding moment by moment through every choice you make to remain conscious, gentle and aligned. And perhaps the most powerful realization of all is this: the guidance you've been seeking outside of yourself has always been living within you. Take a moment and reflect on this. What part of your life is quietly asking to be honored right now? If this message resonated with you, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future reflections on manifestation, alignment, and inner transformation. Your presence here matters more than you realize. And before you go, stay with me through the end screen. The next video waiting for you may hold exactly the insight your soul is ready to receive.